Well, thank you for having me. What we are seeing unfolding is what we should be expecting to see. All the signs pointed very clearly that military action was going to take place and soon. We saw the evacuation of embassies, particularly Israel, but also throughout the region. Authorized departure is a strong signal from the U.S. and other governments. The military buildup over the last several weeks was very clear, and the American reaction to the last round, which was silence. It was not as positive as the Iranians or the Omani assessment of what had occurred. So it was clear that the United States was not satisfied with the results, and the Iranians, like everyone else, should have expected nothing different. This was very similar to where we found ourselves last June. Negotiations ongoing, but a strike nonetheless. No, not really. Again, I think June was a very strong sign of how this was going to go. If it had been, and of course, President Trump wanted a deal that was better than President Obama's. It looks like he was going to get that deal, if we can believe what the Omani foreign minister said after his visit to Washington yesterday. But the ultimate goal was not just what the United States wanted, but what Israel wants as well. We must keep that in mind. And for Israel, it was never going to be sufficient for the nuclear uh, threat to be contained, but those missiles and the ability to support proxies in the region. Yes. That is correct. He's very clear in his public statement that regime change is the ultimate goal of this current action. The statements that he intends to obliterate the missile industry, annihilate their navy. From an Iranian perspective, it must sound terribly frightening, and certainly for the region, because this makes clear that the Iranian regime has absolutely nothing to lose by an all out response. There is no negotiating at this point. And so those military bases in Qatar, in Kuwait, in the UAE, Jordan, Israel, Bahrain, possibly Saudi Arabia. My understanding is that the Iranians have not attacked Saudi Arabia yet. But that means all of the people in those countries are at risk as well. So this is now a regional war, and we have to see whether those countries decide that okay, we're in it whether we want it to or not. So all in. Supporting Israel, supporting the United States, or whether there's anything to be gained by trying to remain neutral. I would argue at this point there probably is not. Well, yes, I think everything has been put in place to provide the firmest possible defense to the bases. That isn't the entire countries, that's the bases. And so we have to see whether the Iranians want to exact prices, if that makes sense to you, for the countries that have allowed U.S. bases. If they've nothing to lose, there's always that possibility that they just try and meet as much death and destruction as they can before they are obliterated, as President Trump has said. But President Trump has warned of the possibility of U.S. casualties. And then the American people are going to have to assess, is this worth it? The threat to the United States, very few people argued convincingly, was imminent, certainly not to the homeland by any means, saying that the United States had to attack Iran to protect U.S. bases or personnel in the region is a hard case to make since the Iranians had not threatened the United States or U.S. bases um, before the attack. Yes. Well, certainly the Israeli intelligence service is well respected, unparalleled, and showed in June that they had deep, deep access to Iran. So between the Israelis and the Americans, I think assessments were made. But as you note, assessments can always be wrong, have frequently been wrong in the past. Otherwise, we would have found weapons of mass destruction in Iraq, which we did not. So, assessments were certainly made. We'll see whether the Iranians have surprises. And of course, it is a matter of desperation. And, when does the IRGC, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard forces, decide it is going to be better to surrender, as President Trump has called on them to do? But how do they do that? It wasn't clear. They're not clear directions of, do they go marching out in the street, tossing their weapons here or there? I mean, how they might do that is not clear, and therefore it might lead them to fight longer than they might otherwise. Their calculation, of course, is what can be saved, both of our control of the nation and the nation itself. And absolutely, my pleasure. Thank you.